Chakshurmilitam jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Dvapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmaitaya Taravo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimana Tosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptascha Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Papanam Vrinde Namaste Charanada Vendam Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyayadadhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta, Om Vishnupad Asto Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta, Om Vishnupad Asto Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, under our exalted Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay, so continuing meditations on Kartik Vrat. Kesava Vrata. Very important month. We heard some beautiful things yesterday about Sri Krishna learning how to serve Srimati Radhika and the Braja Devis. And by extension, Krishna's desire to interact and reciprocate with all his devotees. I just heard something really interesting. You go to this website, Vanipedia, right? And it's got all these lectures from Srila Prabhupada. Some full length and some 12 minutes, some shorts. And I was listening to one called You Have to Work Hard for Krishna. And it was really nice. Srila Prabhupada, he used to stress that, right? Work hard. And one thing that he said is that people in this world, they're worried. Oh, if I work hard for Krishna, then how will I maintain myself? How will I take care of myself? Where will I get food? Where will I get shelter? What will happen to me? But he says, even in this world, if you make a relationship and you work for somebody, they're going to pay you, right? They'll pay you, they'll take care of you. So is Krishna a person or not? And if you work for him, he's the most compassionate, most loving person. He'll not take care of you? He made that point. And of course, when Srila Prabhupada speaks, or someone like that, because of their realization, there's such depth and conviction, and when you hear it, you can't help but think, that's right, that's right. If I develop a relationship with that person, then everything I've ever sought in my life is perfect, is complete. It will give me everything I'm looking for. Right? Ultimately, love in all its lovely variations. So, Krishna, he's just looking for our love. That's the whole point. Otherwise, why would he come? Millennia after millennia, yuga after yuga, right? Manvantar after manvantar. The incarnations of the Lord come like the waves of the sea, unlimited. And Even more than that, his pure followers coming to share his message and bring us to him. This material world, it's not just a place where we're cast to be left forever. In our world, prisons are a place for punishment and not much else. Just punish, punish, punish. And if they can keep you in there for life, they're happy because they make money off you. Right? They exploit the whole prison system. It's a business. There's no higher goal than that. But this world, overseen by Durga, it means prison. But there's a greater purpose to it. That we're put here for reformation. That, okay, you want to be independent? Well, here's your realm. Try to be independent. But when you're cut off from me, what do you have? You have no strength. You have no connection with love, with affection, with all the qualities of the spiritual world. You're going to be limited in this realm. And because you're not connected with me, your whole idea of happiness is the fulfillment of your own very limited capacities for enjoyment. But when you connect with Krishna, he's unlimited in his ability to give happiness and joy. And this is what we're reading about. This is what he wants to do. We've mentioned this before, but in that very amazing pastime where the gopis, young gopis, are performing a month-long vrat, worshiping goddess Katyayani, who is Yogamaya, sometimes called Mahamaya, but Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya, and when the gopis worship, it looks like Mahamaya, but actually it's Yogamaya. And they're worshiping that Krishna be our husband. Right? And they're performing such austere activities for the entire month, and they're always absorbed internally, very happily doing this vow, these austerities. And then when it finally comes, the end of it, and they invite Srimati Radhika on the last day after they perform their vrat, these young and unmarried girls, they invite Radhika, who comes with her dear associates, and they're all bathing together in the river. And then, now that they've received the blessings of Radhika, now Krishna's coming. And he comes, and you know this pastime where he demands that they come out of the water to reclaim their clothes. They had left all their clothing on the bank of the river. They were unclothed in the water. And of course, one of their natural qualities that makes them so beautiful is their shyness and their chastity. And so Krishna's demanding they come out. And they entreat him in so many ways. They use very clever arguments. No, why we can't. They condemn him. They threaten him. They plead with him. Everything they do, it doesn't work. And so gradually, one by one, they're beginning to understand they have to submit. They're actually joyfully submitting because Krishna now, by making this demand, he's actually treating them in a way that only a husband would treat another lady. This demand that you come out without clothing, a woman can't stand before anyone but her husband without clothing. So in that indirect way, he's saying, I'm accepting you. But he wanted more. And he ultimately wanted absolute surrender. Right? Come out unclothed, put your hands over your head, completely uncovered. And their last bit of resistance, he tells them, and it's described like this in Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami, I want to become submissive to you, so you should be fully submissive to me. In other words, I want to give myself completely to you, and I can only do that when you give yourself completely to me. So this is the highest expression, of selfless love on both sides, right? And that's something for us to meditate on. because however we hold back, then Krishna can't reciprocate. He wants to reciprocate fully. And the only obstacle to that is our own reticence, right? Our own recalcitrance that we don't want to fully give because we have some doubt. I can't do that. Because in this world we've been cheated and because we're still selfish. Anyway, so Krishna was serving, collecting flowers, learning to decorate, all these wonderful things. And then the last thing we heard is that Kali Yuga is progressing. The holy tirthas are beginning to decline and disappear. Not that they are gone, but they are being removed from our vision, right? And so they explain different symptoms of that. And then the people of Kali Yuga are very strange. They will create many problems when someone worships Tulsi Devi or Shalagram Shila. My Guru Maharaj spoke of an incident. A Brahmana father told his son, I'm going to officiate a fire sacrifice. I will return after some days, so you should worship Shalagram in my place. The boy responds, all right, but how should I worship? Offer tulsi leaves, sandalwood paste, and the water of the Ganga. Nothing else is required. A jamun tree stood near the temple that bore many juicy berries. Those are those big ones that look like dark grapes, right? Yeah. On looking at them, the son thought, these berries look so succulent and sweet, but how can I collect them? The boy then took Shalagram and threw him at the tree branches. Many berries fell to the ground. He threw the Shalagram at the tree many times and collected as many berries as he could. This Shalagram is very good, he exclaimed. My father told me to worship Shalagram, but he is more useful this way. The Shalagram is my good friend. I can eat so many berries now. The boy then threw the Shalagram at the tree again, but to his dismay, the Shalagram did not fall back to the ground as before, and he could not find the Shalagram. The boy grew anxious and thought, my father will beat me if he doesn't see the Shalagram. What should I do? He took a black jamun berry and put it on the altar. He smeared sandalwood paste on it and offered tulsi leaves to it. The father came back the next day and asked his son, where is Shalagram? It is right here, father. The father had a close look and realized that the Shalagram was a black jamun berry. This Shalagram is rotten. What can I do, father? What happened? The Shalagram became rotten from all the sandalwood paste and water. This is not my fault. What a rascal. Oh, man. What a... Kids. The Brahmin strongly chastised his son for using Shalagram for his own enjoyment. Nowadays, the majority of caste family priests worship Thakurji for their own sense enjoyment and family maintenance. We should try to understand the meaning of the word Shalagram. You should seriously and carefully worship Shalagram. You will then realize how truthful this worship is in this life. You will have this realization. You should worship Shalagram with respect. You must never think that the Shalagram is a piece of a stone. Similarly, you must never think that Tulsi is an ordinary plant. There are various forms of Tulsi, but two forms are prominent: Krishna Tulsi and Radha Tulsi. Krishna himself has appeared in this world in this form to help all the souls have a permanent relationship with him. Right. Tulsi has come. When Krishna left, he left Tulsi as she's like a representative of Radhika, serving Tulsi. You are serving in Vrindavan, serving the gopis. when you he's here as Giriraj. He left the Jamuna. He left Shalagram. Shalagram is so merciful because you can worship that form of the Lord in a very simple way. But once you take it up, you have to maintain that very simple way. You have to at least bathe Shalagram every day. At least bathe, offer some tulsi leaf, and whatever you're going to eat, you have to offer to that Shalagram. Offer at least something every day. Not very difficult. And by that, you may get a desire to increase your seva. They appear as vigraha in order to accept more service from us, in order to increase our realization and sense of relationship. Remember the story of Gopakumar. He's telling his story to the Assami Brahmana, because the Assami Brahmana, having left Assam, he wasn't born in Assam. He may have been born, but his family originally was from Vrindavan itself. And even though he was uneducated and he himself was worshiping only for material benefit, he wasn't completely satisfied by that. He was worshiping a form of Durga, but she took mercy on him and appeared before him and told him, this is not for you. You should go to Vrindavan, and there you will perfect your life. And she gave him the Gopal mantra. And having received it and chanting it faithfully, he went. Right? And coming down from Assam, he first stopped at, let's see, which way is the map for you? Ganga Sagar, the mouth of the Ganga, very important place. This is where Maharaj Bhagirath ultimately ended up, where his relatives, ancestors had been killed after committing offense to Lord Kapila-dev. And there, many Brahmins were there, and they were worshiping very strictly, performing all rituals according to, this is the Assami Brahmana, this is not Gopakumar, according to the Karmakanda division. And he was dissatisfied with that, right? And then somehow or other he was impelled. First he was very attracted because they were learned, very clean, very pucka, very nice environment. But he couldn't be satisfied internally by only Karmakanda. He'd been blessed by Mahamaya herself. Mahamaya can be a prisoner like a warden and punish us, but when we are inclined towards devotion, she'll help us and create situation to further our devotion. So then he went to, step by step, he went to Varanasi, the Mayavadis there, they were also very learned, so many sannyasis so learned in the Vedas, and he was thinking he'd stay there. Lord Shiva himself, the husband of Mahamaya, said, no, what are you doing here? Keep going. He got to Prayag, where they were worshiping, but in a mood of Vaikuntha worship, very opulent. And again, he didn't fit in. Finally, he came to Vrindavan, where he met Gopakumar. And Gopakumar told his own story so that this boy, this young Brahmin, would have faith in him. And in Gopakumar, he had been a cowherd boy, and by the grace of his guru, had been also given mantra. One of the themes of these stories is that when Guru gives you mantra, it contains all things. And both Gopakumar and the Assami Brahmana had great faith in their Guru and in their mantra, and that protected them and compelled them on, right? So sometimes when we chant our mantras, we just do it to get it done, to fulfill our obligation. Guru to me, we were talking about our early days when we had so much seva to do, and our conception was that our real seva was preaching and book distribution. And if you did that, then everything else, that will certainly satisfy Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada gave us the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the Yuga Dharma, and which is the foundation which makes all other sevas seva, right? But we would chant, at least I'd chant, and then 16 rounds, okay, shoom, boom, put the bead bag down, okay. No real sense of the importance of chanting, the sacred nature of your beads, of the process. You know, when you pick up your beads, you pick them up with reverence, and you pray to your Guru, pray to Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, pray to Radha and Krishna that my chanting be effective. I want to please you by my chanting. I want to chant Shuddhanam. I want to chant that Nam which connects me with you in a mood of loving, joyful service and relationship. I want my chanting to give you pleasure. That's what I really want, right? Just like a parent, if a child calls out their name, oh, it makes the mommy. It melts the heart. Daddy melts the heart, right? When the child does that. And Srila Prabhupada said this chanting of the holy name is like the genuine cry of a child for the mother. Right? So it's protected by that mantra. And so Gopakumar, even though he was in Vrindavan, and he had been given that birth in Vrindavan specifically to give him the opportunity after, we don't know what kind of lifetimes he'd had before that, but he had obviously collected great bhakti sukriti to be born as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan in those times. And so he left, and the first person he came across in his journey was a Brahmana who was worshipping Shalagram. And the Brahmana was very devoted and very happy, and Gopakumar says, "What are you doing?" "I'm worshiping the Lord." "Can you show me the Lord?" And he showed him the Shalagram. And Gopakumar was so happy. "Oh, this is the Lord. He's appeared before me." And then the Brahmin said, "Well, now I have to go." And he put the Shalagram in a box and closed it up. And Gopakumar said, "What? He's just putting the Lord in a box? How can he do that?" You know, some put him in a box, some put him in a bag, right around their neck or whatever. He felt bad that, oh, now he's restricted to this box. And so he said, "Isn't there more? Are you going to feed him?" "Oh, I don't have to feed him. Whatever I eat, whatever I beg, I offer that." "But wouldn't you want to offer him more?" "No, he's Shalagram. That's all he needs or wants." But Gopakumar wanted to do more. So then he went to, he's continuing down. I think he went somewhere to Avanti. I can't remember exactly. And there was a kingdom where they were worshiping a beautiful four-armed form of the Lord, very opulently and magnificently. And he was very happy to be there, worshiping so nicely. And the only thing was he wanted more access and to be worshiping more intimately, right? And then somehow or other, the king of that place died. And they had no replacement, right, for the king. And so the son of the king didn't want to be the king. So the brahmanas, the priests, the pandits, they had to look around and they had to find someone who had the qualities of a king. And when they saw Gopakumar and his palm and his physiognomy, they said, "Oh, he's got the qualities of a king." So they made him the king. And he got to worship like that, and he was very happy. But then he heard people criticizing. When the Mahaprasad would come out, if some low-class person looked at it or came near, they would say, "Oh, this is not fit to eat any longer. It's been contaminated by this low-class person." And so Gopakumar felt very bad. He had this instinctive feeling, this is the Mahaprasad of the Lord. How can it be contaminated in any way? And so he said, why do I want to be here? These people, they don't have the proper mood of respect and honor for Mahaprasad and for the deity. Right? Whatever he touches is pure. So then he heard about Jagannath Puri. And that there, people have great respect for Mahaprasad. Even if it's been touched by a dog, they'll eat it. Right? So he said, I want to go there. They know how to worship the Lord. Right? And so he went there. And then, his mood of worship increased even more. And he attended so many festivals, and he got to see Lord Jagannath, and he had such happiness, but he wanted to serve him more intimately again, like the Pandavas, but he couldn't. And then that king died, and he got promoted to be the king of Puri as well. And so he got to arrange for even more festivals, more opulence. He increased the worship. But still, he saw the pujaris, when they were with Lord Jagannath, they would sometimes talk with him and joke with him and serve him intimately. And he wasn't allowed because he was the king. So he was unhappy by that. Anyway, the story goes on and on, where he goes from one position to the next, higher and higher, always driven by the desire not to go to Swarga because it's the heavenly planets, not to go to Brahmaloka because of the level of enjoyment, not going through the different layers of the universe because of the higher and higher pleasures, but always trying to increase his service. But going back to Puri, which was my intent somewhere along this story, because we were hearing about how people will worship the deity for their own happiness, and even use the money given to the deity for their own happiness. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur was living in Puri, he was the magistrate. And as the magistrate of the town, he also had oversight of the temple by the dictates of the British government. And the king there was enriching himself, taking the donations given to the deity and using them for his own family, for his own purposes, right? Which is very bad thing to do. You can see that even today in Vrindavan and other places. Family members who have been taking care of the deities for generations, in the 60s, even up until the 60s, the temples were run down, the families were very poor. Now, some of them live in very beautiful houses. They have all land. They send their children to expensive universities in the West. They're like the merchants at Lowy Bazaar. That's not to say that all of them are like that, or there aren't some with incredibly high moods of devotion. To be born in Vrindavan as a panda even, or as a pujari or a family member, you have to have incredible sukriti for that. And so we should never criticize, but sometimes people are using these things. So in Jagannath Puri, the king was enriching himself, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, no, you can no longer do this. And so his plan was, now I'm ordering you to do, 54 offerings a day. Before they were doing, 7, 8, like that. And to do that, and they also have to be Raj Bhog, each one of them. And so he had to employ so many more cooks, buy so much more boga, it's very expensive to increase the worship. So all the money that he'd been taking for himself, he could no longer use. And he became very angry with Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And so he hired a bunch of tantric priests, black tantric priests, to curse Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then they were doing all these sacrifices to try to kill him, actually. But devotee is protected. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually got very sick, got very ill. It's not the first time this had happened to him. He had another experience like that as well. And Krishna allowed him to get sick to show that the faith of such a person is not wavering even in the face of tremendous adversity. And his wife was saying, oh, you should give this up. You're going to die. He said, no, even if I have to die, I will not give up the service of Lord Jagannath. They've done wrong. And he also cursed that his son would die, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur's son would die. So when they came to the most powerful part of the curse and the ritual where Bhaktivinoda Thakur's son would die, the king's son died. And the king lost everything, and then realized, We can't defeat this person. He's the real servant of Lord Jagannath. We were thinking that Lord Jagannath was, people like that, they don't have any real faith in the deity. Who is the deity? So that extends also, like when we're in a community like this, the more we can surrender to the joy of serving the deity and seeing everything around us as their property to be used for them, to be like the altar. Like you go on the altar, it's always clean. We have that much faith. It's nicely organized in the back. Everything's there, right? Everything in its place. But everything else all over the place, very disorganized, right? Dirty. We've been spending some days going through drawers and different things and this and that, and finding things that have been discarded for years and years, just thrown in a jar, in a drawer, kept here, kept there, just put there, and nobody cares about it. Garbage in a pile somewhere else, because we don't have the consciousness that this is Krishna's. We're thinking, oh, that's his job, I'm just going to do this and then go away. We don't have this real attachment to making every place really nice, so that if Krishna decided to get off the altar and walk into the brahmachari ashram, would he be happy? It's just like my place. When he goes into the room, is it all clean and orderly and nice? When he goes into the kitchen, is everything organized? When he looks at the stove, looks at the fridge, is anything being wasted? The more we have that mood and realization that it's Krishna's, then we won't object. We'll take happiness in organizing. We've been doing a little organizing in there now, and every time we finish one section, we look at it and we feel peaceful and happy. Oh, God, this is so much better. Oh, this is so nice. Oh, yeah. And then we go, but how are we going to keep it up? How long is this going to last? If we're not here for a week, is it going to go back to that same state again? I remember one godbrother, he was traveling to some temple or other, and maybe it was his own main temple, yeah. And he was trying to make a point. And he was giving a Bhagavad Gita class, and he said, look at how this book is not taken care of. It's all raggedy and ripped and this and that. This is Krishna's book, right? This is the temple book. This is the Krishna's book. Now bring my Gita, what you call my Gita. And it's all nice and, nicely taken care of. He says, so when we have our own things, what we consider our own, we take care of them very nicely. But Krishna's, oh, that's not my job. Someone else will do, right? They'll do it, my job is something else. But actually, there's a nice story. I tell this every once in a while. It's in the, I think I told it when I first got here. It's in the book, My Beloved Masters, by Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, where he tells stories of the different disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and their dealings. And Bhakti-Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and Bhakti-Dayita Madhav Maharaj had gone to a temple, and they had they went there a week before a grand festival was to take place. I think it was installation for the deities. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was going to come there in 1 week. And the temple president was so distraught because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada had assigned one senior devotee the responsibility to organize the festival. And that meant setting up for the deity installation, altar, pots. I mean, when you do a deity installation, according to tradition, oh my goodness, there's so much to do. So much. And that had not been done. And then the festival for all the guests, all the boga, the pandal, the pots, the cooks, all of that. Where are they going to stay? So many things. Nothing had been done. And there was only a week left. And the temple president was completely distraught. And then Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said, don't worry. I'll take care of the deity worship. Maharaj will take care of the other arrangements for the cooking and for the guests. And so they did. And when Srila Saraswati Prabhupada came, everything went perfectly. Everybody was so happy. And he praised the devotees, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, for such a good festival. And then the head of the temple was encouraging Maharaj, you have to tell Srila Prabhupada that the devotee that he assigned didn't do his duty. He has to be chastised by Guru Maharaj so that he'll benefit and learn his lesson. He neglected his duty, but Maharaj, he wasn't so inclined to do that. He was not critical of others. He was dynamic in service, but very humble. But the devotee kept saying over and over, you have to do this. So finally he did mention it to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who then said, why are you complaining? All of this is your service. You know, why are you saying that that was his service, he should have done it? In Vrindavan, Radharani does all service. Everything is done from her. If somebody wants to help, she happily engages them. But if they don't, she'll do everything. Remember that story when Radhika was checked from leaving her house and going to the house of Jashoda to cook for Krishna in the mornings because Jatila was upset by that. This is improper, people criticize my daughter. It was something to increase the prem between Radha and Krishna. It appears like she doesn't like Krishna, doesn't like, the Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, but Jatila, she has a special role. And by creating obstacles in that way, she actually creates situations for even more beautiful pastimes when you look at it more deeply. So Radhika couldn't go, and she couldn't cook. So then finally it was arranged that she could cook. And before she couldn't cook, she was like completely thrown into the most terrible separation. She was lying almost lifeless, 10th stage of prem, almost of separation in prem, lifeless, unconscious, near death. But then when they whispered in her ear, oh, you can, cook for Krishna. She got up, and even though before she was burning in separation, she was lying on a bed of very soft, beautiful lotus petals that had turned completely dry and brittle. Her body had been covered in fragrant, soft, moist sandalwood paste, completely dried and cracked. Her body was burning so much in the fever of separation. But when she was told, oh, now you can cook for Krishna, and she immediately changed into this beautiful white cooking dress. And she told, oh, Rupa Manjari, light the fires, light 100 fires, and bring me the small pot. I'm going to cook Manohar Laddu and other things for Krishna. And then she went into the kitchen, and she was surrounded by 100 fires, so hot in the kitchen, but she was as cool as a spring breeze, right? Because she was absorbed in that service, the happiness of service to Krishna. In separation, what was separation? Unable to directly serve. That was burning her. And what was cooling? The beauty of serving, right? So we're the opposite. At least I'm the opposite, When I get the opportunity to serve, I reject, I get angry, I get feverish, I yell at people. And when I don't have to serve, then I can sit and sleep in my bed and feel very happy, right? But we want to be like Radhika, who does all seva. So he told that to Madhava. She does everything. And then he said, she has given this service to you. So why are you worried about what someone else is doing or not doing? That's one of our big obstacles. Well, I'm working so hard and nobody else is doing anything. I'm not going to do it. And you get all grumpy and angry at them. But a better mentality is, wow, I'm so fortunate. There's another Maharaj story about that. When it came to the devotees of the Gaudiya Math wanted to acquire the birthplace of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada in Puri on Grand Avenue, right? And there's pictures of that house. I have one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house before they, just after they had bought it, they were continuing the worship for some time. But it's very difficult. You know, the land mafia in Puri is very powerful. But and so the Godbrother said, somehow or other acquire the land and build a temple, and all of us will help you with money. But you're very expert. Guru Maharaj has said you have volcanic energy, and so you take the lead on this. So he did, acquired the land, and long story short, with great difficulty, they built a temple. And it's quite a magnificent facility if you've ever been there. It's very wonderful. But none of the Godbrothers helped. They had all of their own challenges, maintaining their own mats, their own building projects. So nobody had given him any money. And somehow or other, by himself, he acquired the land, engaged the laborers, and step by step built this extraordinary temple. And afterwards, he said this, my Godbrothers are so merciful to me. You know, they were so kind. And this is a heartfelt sentiment. They're not a bit of sarcasm in that. This was a very important service to our Guru Maharaj. And I know he has been so happy by its completion. And they're so merciful to me that they allowed me to take the whole service by myself. Right? So if you're ever in the pot room at night and you're all alone and nobody else showed up and you're just cleaning the pots and scrubbing the counter, you can remember that story and think, oh, you don't think that, hey, there's that Madhav. You're supposed to help me clean the pots. Why isn't he here, that bum? Or whatever. Or Madhav's thinking, hey, where's anybody else? I'm always doing it. Right? No. You think, wow, so merciful. They've allowed me to do the service. Radhika's blessing me. I'm engaging in service. The gopis, the other thing Srila Prabhupada said in that lecture, you think the gopis ever sleep? They're always engaged. You think they want to not do service at any moment? They're doing service constantly. They would die without service. Right? They're always seeking service. So we're trying to enter into that mindset ourselves as well. Right? And so even Krishna, that was the point of this chapter, Krishna himself is seeking service. Krishna, through his expansion, Baladev, and through Srimati Radhika, Baladev expands into Chaturvyuha, and his expansion at Sankarshan. He creates all the devotees in the worlds in the Vaikuntha realm, and as Mahavishnu, he creates us. But in all of his different creation, all of his different incarnations, avatars, other kinds of devotees, everything is imbued with the mood of service coming from Baladev. And everyone is imbued with the Shakti from service and the power for service coming from Radhika. So Baladev and Radhika are our ultimate gurus, and they are the embodiments of complete and perfect service. So if you want to connect with them, got to work hard for Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. And when you do, you get the realization. Don't allow your wicked mind to deny you that joy. Fight against it, right? Fight against it. Yeah. So we'll stop here. I'll turn this off. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, glories to Srila Gurudev, all of our Guru Parampara, Shri Radha Raman, Shri Lalita, Shrimati Vishaka, Shri Rupa Manjari, Shri Rati Manjari, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.